It's an opening prayer, and then we'll go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be here to do the business of the city. We're grateful to be able to live in this area and for the beauties that we're provided and the opportunities that we have. I pray as we discuss the business we have on the agenda tonight, we will be guided and directed to do things most beneficial for our residents. We ask a blessing upon our police officers and fire department, all those who serve to protect us and keep us safe. We ask that thou will guide and direct us and help us to keep in mind the needs of others. This we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Will you lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag, the state of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. The first item that we have is the minutes from last meeting. Any amendments or corrections?
I gave mine to Sunshine before, so I'm good.
Do we need to state those for the record?
Yeah, so, the spelling of Dan Karen's last name, I had B with a K. I did not catch Ken Smith's last name, so there's Roosevelt clear that up for me. And I have on the record that it was Councilman Baird who seconded our agenda.
Excellent. All right, any others that need to be addressed?
I move we approve this amended.
We got a motion, do we have a second? Okay. Second by Councilman White, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. We have our public comment period at this time. Anybody in the audience can take up to 3 minutes to address the council if they so desire. Are there any here that would like to take that opportunity tonight? All right, seeing them, we'll move forward with the next item, which is the employee of the month. So, Evan, you probably know who this individual is, don't you?
Well, I sure hope I do.
All right, so the employee of the month for this month is Sierra Weisner. Would you please stand, Sierra? Thank you. So, I think Edwin submitted your name for employee of the month. It was agreed by everyone that you do an excellent job there. But just a little bit about Sierra. She is an essential member to the Aquatic Center staff. She offers her assistant, and I can't even read tonight. Okay, let's start over. She offers her assistance and expertise to any area at the Aquatic Center that needs help. In her position as a lifeguard supervisor, she is responsible for scheduling and coordinating for 25+ lifeguard employees and goes above and beyond to make sure everything is covered. She became a lifeguard instructor to help teach the lifeguard class. She plans the monthly lifeguard trainings and even plans makeup trainings to make sure everyone is up to date on the skills. Sierra not only keeps the lifeguard department running smooth, but she also helps coach the city swim club program and helps teach swim lessons. She treats the team and public with kindness and respect. She knows each patron that comes in by name and helps everyone at the Aquatic Center feel welcome. Sierra is also loyal and dependable. She is always willing to work when needed and never slacks off in her responsibilities. The Aquatic Center staff and Roosevelt City team are grateful to have such an outstanding employee working in our city, and the community should know how lucky we are to have her. Thank you, Sierra. Come on up.
And give a speech.
Oh, okay.
I'm just.
Perfect, thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. Appreciate all you do. That's the second award from the pool in just the last few weeks.
Yeah.
There must be something.
Sierra was nominated by several people, both coworkers and.
Excellent. Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And we do appreciate you and all of our staff. You guys, everyone does an excellent job. It's your month.
Thank you.
All right, we have the Altamont Energy Agreement. Ryan's here. We also have Mr. Duncan here with us tonight. So go ahead and feel free to chime in whenever.
Okay, so the agreement, it's it's almost identical to the ones we have with XCL and Ozanto. On their agreements, the only difference is they're pulling from the north side or the south side of town, and Altamont Energy is gonna be pulling from the north side of town. Right there by the Moon Lake Warehouse building. So just, if you can't remember the last agreement, it's 1,000 gallons per minute. We have had the engineers run the model, and that's what we're capable of doing. So we're comfortable running that. GPM and base rate's the same, $3,000 and per month. If they use that water, they can get 2 million. So identical to the other ones. I don't know.
That sounds really familiar, very similar. That is very similar to Ovinto's contract.
Identical. I didn't, Grant looked at it, he went through, it didn't change a whole lot. So we kind of wanted to stay the same structure with all of them, so we kind of know what we're doing with. We're consistent with the companies and with our water systems.
Any questions from the council for Ryan?
You're comfortable. I mean, obviously, I know it's in there that as long as Roosevelt City has first priority, obviously,
Yeah,
but you're comfortable with this?
yes, we are.
I mean, it looked like you said the XCL, so I was comfortable. I assumed you were because you bring it up.
Yeah, we're very comfortable with it. We did get with the engineers to make sure everything looked good. Jesse's been good to work with. They're gonna put in the connection and pay for it. So
Would they be drawn at the same time, or could they potentially?
they could potentially, but it's two different zones and two different sources. It'll be pulling from Hayden more or less, and then the other one will pull from Victory. So,
Yeah, I didn't think that was a problem, but I just thought I'd ask.
no, great question.
And Jesse, how is your company reacting to the contract? How do you feel about it?
Everything looks good. Just to throw out there too, we're working towards using as much loose water, recycled water as we possibly can. Because using culinary water is not Altamont's ultimate goal, is to utilize the flowback water and the production water that we have in place. But this is a new thing for us. We haven't drilled a well in 4 years now. So standing up a rig and going into this size of program, that's something we're definitely working towards. In fact, we're trying to put in a pipeline from that pad that's on State Street over to our stuff that's over in the Ballard area, where we can utilize flowback water and try to get away from using so much culinary water. Everything's good on the contract on our stuff.
Too bad we can get some of that dry gulch for the side wash water down that way too.
Yeah, it's close, but
I've talked to a lot of people on that, is it the Cottonwood Creek water after irrigation season, and there's some potential there after season, but nothing during irrigation season.
Gotcha. I see. Any other questions or concerns?
I have to recuse myself from voting on this.
Yeah. Better. Okay, well, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
We got a motion by Councilman Allen. All in favor? Are there any opposed? And we do have one abstained or recused. Councilman Baird. All right, it looks like motion passes, so we'll get that executed tonight and get you water ASAP.
Thank you.
Thanks,
The
Jesse.
crew rigging up right now, so they're go.
Excellent. Yes. Oh. I know why it keeps here. We're getting to that. Good observation. The next item that we have tonight is the Roosevelt Flag Hill discussion. So this is something that I put on the agenda. Ryan took the lead out of this after I had even mentioned it, so I appreciate all the homework that he's done. Nice picture of the flag. So everybody's seen the flag that is above Duchesne City. I think you can see that for miles and miles. And it's pretty significant, pretty neat to look at. So there were some members of the public that approached me a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, wondering if we could do the same thing in Roosevelt City. And they were under the impression that this was donated, or Duchesne City's flag was donated, and it was done through donations and things like that. But Kimberly, you may know, were you the engineer on that job?
I was not the engineer. I was consulted at the airports for airspace.
You don't like this?
No, I like it.
We're going 200 feet. Is that okay?
Look at it. That's all I have. Look at it before it goes up. I'm like,
Well, this is just a discussion, so this is preliminary. See, one of the members, it was Richard Ross, had brought it up, and he thought he could find some people that would be willing to fundraise or, I don't know, get funds for this type of a project. So yeah, when you shook your head, Kimberly, I was thinking that they didn't get it donated. So they said, oh, okay.
I don't know how it got funded. I know who put it up, but I don't know how that person got funded. Sorry.
Do you want to divulge that name in this meeting? Maybe after?
Maybe, I don't know.
So, long story short, in my conversation with him, Roosevelt City does own a piece of property just above Jones Mill. And so I don't know, we have to look at it, see if it's out of the traffic zone for the airport, but that would be a really cool spot to do that. Roosevelt City already owns the property, it can be done. And so I guess part of the reason for bringing on the agenda tonight is to see if council would allow fundraising to happen and things like that, to see if we could get funds to do this project. Ryan was able to get a quote from Colonial Flag for the same size flagpole and installation and the flag. It would be $71,650, which is a lot more than what I thought it would be, and a lot more, I think, than what Richard thought it would be. However, if we could get people that would donate, so you can see, if you look straight across from the airport, there you go. Yeah, so Roosevelt owns that property on top of that hill right there. That's all Roosevelt City owned property. And that's where the flag would be most likely go if we were to do it. So it'd overlook the cemetery basically. But anyway, we're not asking for approval of the $71,650. We're just saying that could be the anticipated cost. We would hope that we could get most of that done with fundraising, and just seeking approval from the council or a decision from the council to proceed with that, trying to do that, or what they think.
How tall is that flagpole?
120 feet. The flag size itself is 30 by 60. It's a big flag.
I don't think you'd have a problem with the flight path. Just to the west, we may have a tower, I think it's called.
Okay.
And that's like.
And we can look at that and just double check with engineers as well, but that's a good thought.
About like lighting.
So, if you look, Ryan, can you go back to that? So if you, take your cursor to the left, where Greg Harmston owns. Keep going to the left, there you go. So Greg owns that building right there, and there's electricity there. We would anticipate trying to get, and Richard is on Moon Lakes, was on the Moon Lakes board, I don't think he is anymore. But he was thinking, maybe talking with Moon Lake and seeing what they could do to get electricity up on top of the hill. And we could probably get it from that source. I would prefer being buried because you don't have poles up there. which would cost more to get it up on top. That's what we're thinking, either that or solar, doing some solar panels and batteries, so that the light would come on at night. Any other thoughts?
I think it's great. I move we proceed with looking at getting funding and whatever else we can to get it done. I think it's awesome.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Motion.
A second by Councilman Baird. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll proceed with looking into it and seeing what we can do to fundraise and things like that. Nailing down some costs. We might have to have some engineering. They engineer their own flagpoles and things like that. We might have, we'll get with our engineers for the airport and make sure that everything's kosher there. And hopefully have you something next month. I mean, not perfect, but. Nature Park contract approval with Sunshine Engineering. Aaron, you're here tonight? Oh,
Sunrise.
Sunshine? Sunrise, sunshine?
Just to clarify, you probably ought to go 121 feet, just really that much higher than Duchesne.
We should go. Let's go 135.
Okay, so we worked with Roosevelt City UBMC over the past year, and we've come up with a few different concepts and ideas for the nature park. And at this point, we're ready to present to the city a contract to do design work on this next phase of the park. And what we're looking at specifically is getting the trails from the hospital down to the park and bridges to cross to cross the creek there at the bottom. And with that, we're looking at the contract to do that work in this contract, as well as landowner coordination for the rest of the trail beyond the park. We're looking at connecting all the way from Highway 121 over to Highway 40 with the trail. And so part of that is working with the city. A lot of the landowners have already been contacted about this, but working with the city to come up with agreements for the landowners to have the easement for the trail all the way through. So that's part of it as well. And then we have listed additional services beyond. If we get to the point where we're ready to proceed with phase 2, that's listed in here as well. But that would include things like doing the grading plans and site plans for the pond to get that sorted out, so it's ready to go as soon as DWR has staff available to help construct that. So, any questions about the contract that I can answer?
One quick question. Do we have, so just to bring the council up to speed, we approved the contract already with the hospital as far as moving forward with the project and things like that. So this is just Sunrise Engineering's proposal to finish out phase 1 and to be paid for that because they've done a lot of work that haven't been paid for yet, right? Is that correct?
To get it off.
Yeah. So,
Well, and it's not just to pay for whatever work we've done, it really is to take it to the next level and make sure you can go on phase 1. So.
exactly. So this, and then, what was the other thing? Do you have the map? Does everybody understand what was agreed upon as far as the trails and things like that? Maybe we don't have to worry about it. That's okay. So what's the total amount of your Ryan, or not Ryan? Jason, tell me the total amount of the contract, and then the anticipated cost, 20,000?
Sure. So for task 1 and 2, we had 20,000 for each one of those, and those were for the trail and bridges and the landowner coordination. And then the task 3 was additional, and that would be time and materials as requested at that point. So
we're looking at a total of 40,000 to get phase 1 done, basically, for engineering fees. Budget. Is this in our budget?
This would be covered by the grants that have been
And we have, what, 250,000 already? Okay. Excellent. Are there any questions from the council for Jason?
What kind of time frame are you looking at to get this portion of it done?
As soon as we get a signature on it, we can get started right away on it. The bridge and evaluation that way, there's gonna be some coordination. We've talked about working with UB Tech to dress up the existing bridge that UBMC has in their lot right now. And so we'd probably be 2 or 3 months out on design and coordination that way. So.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Flower. Almost called Councilman Rowdy. I'm off tonight. I didn't get much sleep last night. That's my excuse. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we'll get that signed and get working.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks for bringing it. Next, Kirby, we have the city flower maintenance contract.
Yes, so I'm here tonight to get a recommendation from the city council to accept the proposal from Cheryl Mitchell. It's for the Main Street grooming contract. Sure you guys see in the memo, she's proposing $975 a month to maintain and water all the flowers downtown, fertilize, remove the weeds. She understands what's involved in the whole process. And she did meet the RFP requirements. And in the past, just for information, we've had a contractual agreement before, and it was like $24.90. So this is substantially lower. Fiscal impact a year would be about $4,875. Funding source that we looked into, correct me if I'm wrong, Rhonda, was the downtown Main Street Grooming Fund, right? And so I just wanted to ask the council for a recommendation to accept her proposal.
That's a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, watering, how does she water? I understand.
The city has a water truck that she will use,
And is that done?
like about 2 in the morning. Yeah, it's the best time to get out and do it, and it's cooler, during the summer, everything. She'll be completed out of there before our truck really gets going on the safety. And the truck's rigged with all kinds of lights and, you know what I mean? So it's been used in the past.
You answered all my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And she's just doing the watering, right? We're still planting.
Yeah, so Dominion, they're a group from Dominion that volunteers every year to plant them. So they'll come out, they'll plant them all, and then she takes it from there. And then there's always extra you have to get that we keep down at my maintenance shop. In case they're pretty, temperamental. There's a few that may die or whatever that she needs to replace with, that's why we get the extras. And the city invests approximately $10,000 a year on this, so we'd like them, to take care of them. So that's
I'm curious what the requirements for the request for proposal were. Do you have those by chance?
Sunshine, did you happen to have that?
While we're looking at it, the other thing that I noticed too, usually we have, this looks like the response, right, for the proposal. This is her just.
In the proposal, I just touch on some highlights, what she had said in her proposal, if you like.
Well, before you get to that really quickly, whatever she mentioned in the proposal, I think normally what we've done is made sure that we have a contract that
Yeah.
lists the things that she should do.
Right.
And her expectations and everything else, and then what Roosevelt City's, going to do, like the pay and everything else. This is, the reason I asked first of all is because this isn't a contract, this is
No.
just basically her proposal.
Right, for you guys to accept her proposal, then we'll get into it.
Yeah, so if we approve this tonight, what I would recommend
Okay.
is that we approve this and entering it in a contract with her with those things defined and subject to legal counsel review, so that our attorney can look at this and make sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted before we sign a contract.
It will be on a year-to-year basis too, right?
Yeah.
So,
So
that way if something didn't work out.
one of the things I think we could do maybe for next year too, but probably to help you and be a little streamlined for the council. We've done that with all most all the contracts we have. For example, the one that was brought with Altamont Energy, we've streamlined all of our contracts and things like that. So if we could have a contract that we have that spells all that out from year to year, and then all we're actually doing is plugging in the amount. All the responsibilities are already listed, and so whatever the contract amount is, we can plug that in, and it's all said and done. That'll alleviate some of the grants, having to draw those up every year, and then you can have it ready here and it'd be ready to go. So,
Sounds good.
and then, were you curious of? Were you on those?
You could just maybe, you found it. Just put them on board. I can run through real quick.
I just like to thank Ryan and Sunshine, and that's where I got Sunshine, by the way, Sunrise. But being able to navigate this and provide this to the council at a drop of a hat. We appreciate that. So basically, this will be what
Goes in the contract.
goes in the contracts. Yeah.
Okay. I like what the mayor said about getting that on the contract reviewed by legal counsel.
Does every flower need to be watered every day?
They do, yes, sir. Monday through Sunday, that's another thing that's.
So it's every day of the week.
Yes.
Get rid of the potting soil and put some loam in, hold some water.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Kirby on this? All right, seeing them, I think we're ready for a motion. If you just make mention that it would be, those items would be put into a contract, and then it would be subject to legal counsel review, or just so we have that language.
I move we approve with contract and legal counsel review before we finalize. Is that what we need?
Before it's signed, yeah.
Before it's signed.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second
Okay, we have a second by Councilman Baird, and a motion by Councilman Busenbark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thanks, Kirby.
I'm listed on the agenda as the next item, but Kimberly Sylvester's here with JEB, she will take on.
Thanks, team.
Good evening, Council. Kimberly Sylvester with JUB Engineers. I'm our airport engineer. Before you is item that's supposed to go to the airport board first, but we're a little backwards here. We'll get it approved this board on Thursday. But we have been talking about doing the next project that for the airport is the master plan update. And so part of that master plan update, because the fees were in excess of $100,000 for any project that we do at the airport with federal funds. It's required to have an independent fee estimate completed on that. An independent person is familiar with that type of work to give their estimate of the hours and effort and dollars that would be required for the project. Mr. Lulot completed that IFE last week. He came in about 5% higher than what we had proposed. FAA's rules on that is if anything's more than 10% out, typically it's if the IFE is lower than 10%, then there's a negotiation that needs to happen because there's some misunderstanding in the scope or the effort that will be involved. In this case, he was higher than our proposed fees of $370,000. So it's again about a 5% difference there. So we feel good about where we were in the as far as our proposed hours and fees there. What we're asking from the council tonight is to go ahead and approve that amount of $370,000 for us to move forward with the contract. And a reminder on that 370,000, that is 90% funded by just over 90% funded by the FAA, and then 5% by the state, and then just under 5%, and then the rest would be the city. So it looks like a lot, but the impact to actual city budget is just under 5%.
And I'll just clarify a little bit. You had mentioned this maybe needing to go back to the airport board, which I think is good, but just the council knows this is something that was decided by the airport board months ago. It did come before the council also a few months ago for the council to consider moving forward with this, and we decided to do that. And so it technically doesn't have to go back to the airport board because they've already recommended it. We already said that we would like to see that happen, and so this is just the final amount of what that contract will be, just if that helps. So, any questions for Kimberly? So these numbers are theirs, and you said your numbers are
Just keep scrolling. Down to that was their input on the hours and all the tasks and expenses. Keep going, there's a lot of objections, I apologize.
So the total grant amount
This
was.
this is our scope here. The total amount that we're proposing is 370,000.
Okay, and I saw theirs was 394.
They're
388.
388.
Go back up.
To that second page, yeah. Oh, that 94, that is with 6,000, so the 394. If they propose, we're proposing 376 for the grant. The $6,000 is administrative fees that may be involved that are outside of our contract, so they can be advertisements for public involvement. We will have a public involvement effort involved in this with public meetings and
Does the state have any grant funding, match funding for this?
Yeah, they'll put in their typical half of what's left, yeah. So it's 90.63%, which is such an odd number that the FAA funds for Utah. So I just rounded up when I'm speaking, but it's, yeah.
And then the state pitching 5%, and then we'll be on
Yeah.
for the 5%.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go wrong with that kind of.
Yeah, so the grant application would be for the 370 plus 6,000 to cover some of the other expenses that may come from renting meeting spaces for the public involvement meetings if needed, or, snacks.
Sure.
Other things that the city may incur.
Excellent.
Oh, and the IP as well. The IP did have a cost on it as well. That's part of the administrative cost. That would be reimbursed again through the grant.
And then part of the reason for this is we wanted to put a fence around the airport as well, but we wanted to get the master plan done before so that we could identify.
Land acquisition areas, or
Right.
how the airport should develop as far as hangar taxi lanes and helicopters. We'll look at the existing conditions and inventory as part of that. Would be one of our first steps, and then compare that to what the existing standards are, identifying deficiencies, facility requirements, then we go into facility requirements. Do you need new approaches for the runway? Do you need a longer runway to accommodate forecasting for the aircraft traffic?
Flagpoles.
Flagpoles, not yet. Not against flagpole. We just need to look at it.
So it could be designed in the master plan. We just make sure that we just keep that in with the same. Any other questions for Kimberly on that?
So the city's portion, based on the percentages, roughly 17,000 is what you're telling us then, of that total?
If that's what it comes to. Sorry, I didn't do the.
Well, I just did it in my head, so it was just.
Okay, yeah, I do have that. Yes, 17,615.6. Yep.
So that's our portion, the state puts in their portion, and then the other, and Rhonda, we budgeted.
That will be up to you guys, but yes, that will be included in the.
Does that scare you, $17,500?
Yeah.
It does scare you?
Yeah.
Oh. I was like, wait a minute.
Well, it's
Yeah,
likely to be split over 2 fiscal years.
it just seems for them to kick in 90.63%, the state pitching in, it's like a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, and that's how we got the big ramp expansion, not the ramp, but the taxiway and the,
That's actually 100%.
yeah, that was awesome. So with airport, too bad we can't get our police officers funded that way. Flying in airport, I mean, it is a no-brainer,
Yeah.
so. Any other, I think we're ready for a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Councilman White, and then second by Councilman Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
I'll draft up the contract.
All right.
Thank you.
And the hangar lease agreement, we'll talk about that at our next meeting. There's still some recommendations that I think we need to get from our airport board before presenting the council. And Kimberly has got some information that she just found out on some of those will be instrumental in helping us get those dialed in, so. Next item is committee appointments. We have one appointment tonight, and he's here. We appreciate Keith Goodspeed being with us tonight. Keith, welcome. And he answered the call to the Planning and Zoning Commission, so he was one of the applicants for that Planning and Zoning Commission.
You just do the swearing.
Just at our Planning and Zoning meeting, first Planning and Zoning meeting. So, but appreciate him being willing to serve in that capacity, and would present him to the council for approval in that position.
Well, I know Keith, and I have no problem. I think he's great, so I support that.
Okay. We have a motion to approve that appointment. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Councilman Baird. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Keith, thanks again for being willing to do that. Can we clarify, is that the second Wednesday of every month? The planning and zoning meeting? Yeah. At 5:30, Keith, so that'll be your next meeting. So our chair of that planning and zoning committee is Steve Timothy. I'll let him know that,
It looks to me they've been advertising on the radio about the planning and zoning is gonna have a hearing on May 4th, which is the first Wednesday. About tiny homes, at least that's what the radio's been saying on the 4th.
because it's 2 weeks before our city meeting, so that we can have time, any suggestions or decisions that they make.
It's a good thing you pay attention to the radio.
Changes because of the conflict.
I was thinking.
Well, I'm quite interested in tiny homes, so I heard that on the radio, and then I think I checked zoning's calendar on your calendar, on their website.
Yeah, we'll send out an email.
I think it's the
to you.
4th.
Sunshine, I believe you have his email, right? So you have his email address. He's one of the,
Submitted via email, so yes.
yeah. And so we'll put you on the list, and I think one of those notices go out about a week ahead of time.
For planning and zoning.
Yeah.
We try to get it out of the head, and you're like council, or they go out with 24-hour notice.
Right.
But I'll get him on the email list, and so he's usually really good about getting some information out to the members when he gets
Okay.
to me.
So
And it is
anticipate
on
the
board.
4th of May, and then Sunshine will get you added on the email list, so you get a reminder each meeting. Excellent. Dustin, we're ready for you.
Okay.
So Dustin's, I just have to say, Dustin's done a ton of work on this, my commemoration, dedication, and appreciate all his efforts, and we're down to the.
We're there almost. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Mayor and Councilman, for your support on this project. Appreciate all the input and willing to help out with this. So just to give an update, the recognition and appreciation sign is up. It is installed and cemented in on the south entryway of Constitution Park. And it has withstood a couple of windstorms. So we did something right. I think we put enough cement in. We actually went about 3 feet deep. You know, it's a pretty heavy sign. It's a heavy duty sign, and it turned out really good. So So now it's time to make it official and celebrate this. And we're gonna plan a Mud Dive Complex dedication and barbecue. And it is set for May 13th at 12 p.m. at Competition Park. And hopefully all of you have received an invitation. That would be great to see every one of you there. And just a few other people that we are going to invite, just so you're aware. We're going to invite all city employees and come up for a barbecue. Also, I really wanted to invite a few former employees that knew Mutt really good. I was thinking kind of Vicki Rasmussen was here, Jolie Opsahl, Carolyn Wilkin, Brad Hancock, and also Justin Johnson. If there's anybody else that we feel that we need to invite, please, speak up and we'll send them out an invitation. And then also UB Tech, they were very, very helpful in creating this sign. President Aaron Wade was very helpful, and so was Tim Miller, and also the two welding instructors that actually built the sign and helped, that kind of led this with their students, and they did a really good job. So I'd like to invite them. And then of course, Mutt's 3 daughters, they live out in Wasatch Front. They will be there. He has a couple of sons that won't make it, they live out of the city. But that's kind of who we'd like to invite. Any other people that you can think of that we should invite, please let me know. And we actually got permission to use the Moon Lakes barbecue trailer, so we will have plenty of grill space. So
Who's doing the cooking?
well, Brent did say that he would cook, so I don't know if he.
It's gonna be a fight between Brent and Brock.
Yeah. Hey, Brock. That's on the slow foods. Maybe we can talk into that. But yeah, we'll figure that out. Who's going to cook? We'll just have some burgers and just make it really casual and just kind of make this official. So, any questions, comments, direction we need to go for this barbecue?
You did a good job on the sign, it looked great.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got UB Tech. I think that was huge to have them do it as opposed to farming it out elsewhere.
Yeah, and it was really easy to work with them, especially Tim. He was always in contact with me, so I appreciate that, and especially President Ray, he didn't even flinch. We'll make this happen.
Did you invite the welding students as well that were involved?
I did not.
They made the sign. I think that would be appropriate to at least invite them, whether they come, obviously, but we appreciate their efforts, so I would invite them.
I think that's a good group. I appreciate, having an idea. First of all, having the idea to do this, and that was spot on, and then following it through, and here we are, through your efforts and others, ready to get this done. It's good project.
It
Thank you.
It worked out just right, and it was, it took a little bit of time, but I think it worked out for the best for all this, and it's good, so. Thanks again for your support.
Thank you.
Rhonda, the moment we've all been waiting for, numbers.
Actually, we have a numbers guy here to present.
Cameras. Go ahead, come on. All right, thanks for being here with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having us. About hard copies, if anyone wants them later. Oh, you've already given them to you. Okay. Well, I'd like to do all that if you want. Let's see, Ryan, if we let's go to page 8. It's a little more summarized. We go back to page 8.
No, I don't have it in there. Cameron, we've only got.
Oh, did I just tell you the one? Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so, this is a little bit, obviously, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but a little bit older news. I mean, this is June 30th, 2021, so we're almost into the next year. You can see there the breakdown of your different revenues. You have property taxes of 1.1 and sales taxes of almost 3 million. Total revenues in that general fund is 7.5 million. You can see the department breakdowns, each department in the expense categories. There's no comparison there. side by side from the previous year. But you can see just the general, so your total expenses were 6.3 million. So that was a positive 1,207,000. And you got some other financing sources down there, which, you know, transfers out, which is transfers to other funds. But by and large, that third line, the bottom, 916,611 in bold, that was your general fund, you know, positive operations for the year. Any questions there for anybody? And then if you go up, you can see the capital projects fund, as well as the other non-major, not just your debt service fund that you have in place. We can go through, I don't know if I gave that to you or not to have on there, but let's go through it here just in case. Your capital projects fund, mostly funded by grants there. Go back up there, right? There you go. Intergovernmental revenues, that's that you received, most of that being the airport.
And then you'll see that page 8, our total for our current year is for revenues 19.2 million, and last year is a little over 15 million, and the capital grants fund was 1.2 million current and 7.9 for last year. So I think our airport was around 7 million.
Yeah.
Really that.
Yeah, combination, because there's just a little bit left over from the year.
I didn't see that big discrepancy, but that's where that comes in. If anybody wonders why.
Why the change?
Yeah.
Yeah, your capital projects fund will just change according to what grants received and whatnot. So, let's go to the next one. Let's look at your proprietary funds, which is your water, sewer, and sanitation. You can see water is the largest with 3.1 million. Your operating expense, including 900,000. This one, depreciation expense. Then your operating expense is 3,045,000. So even with depreciation, you still have a positive net operating income of 56,616, which is great. And so impact fees of 56,700. So your non-operating income of 50,000, is your total bolded there of 107,287. That's your income for the water fund. And just jumping over to the side there on your sewer fund, you had 923,646, and in revenue and expenses of 807,000. If you just jump down to the bottom there, income before capital contributions, that's before grants, was 122,641. You had a negative grant because you gave back some money that you didn't use for a project of $47,046. So, total change in that position for that fund is 75,000, and then we won't go over the sanitation fund, which is 5,000. You can see the change in that position there. Maybe the next page you got there, Ryan. This is one kind of like to look at, just that top section there. This is your cash flow statement. Just purely look at things from cash perspective. And that cash flow from operating activities is a key area you want to look at. And basically what that's saying is the cash is coming in from these various services, maintaining the system we have. You know, and you can see it's in black, 877,000, water fund, 481,000, sewer fund. So that's just purely looking at things from cash flow, taking like depreciation and stuff. So, any questions there?
We like black.
That's right. That's right. Next page. Okay, so this kind of, where we want to spend just a little bit of time. These are the schedules of findings and recommendations. The first one there is an internal control finding. Not something you really want to see too much. You can see there are multiple significant financial statement adjustments were required to, and it's on your page, it's on the very last page. You just go put it in. Significant financial statement adjustments required to close the bookkeeping for the year. So in other words, we have a lot of entries. And so when they reach a certain amount of adjustments, we have to put this finding in there. We're required to. And so just kind of talk about that, just that, with the transition that you guys have had, which is quite significant transition we've had in the last year, there was a lot of things that we missed. And so we had a lot of those entries there. A lot of them closing entries, and things that way. And we've gone over those with Rhonda and Ryan, and I think we're ready to go for the coming year. Any questions on that first one? Okay. Next one is just a budget finding, which isn't, so one of the things we're required to do with the state is we have all these compliance areas that we're required to test. These next three, and one of them is a budget. You're required to stay within your budget for each fund, and you exceeded it in the water fund. Something to do at this time of year actually is just kind of watch and amend your budget, and make sure you don't forget the non-cash depreciation expense. That's what really gets people. So, any questions on that one? Okay, number 3, Roosevelt City's general fund balance exceeded the allowable limit. So there's an allowed limit, which is 35% of the total revenue of the general fund. That's under the criteria. And that was exceeded. So what you need to do, and we've gone through the dollar amount with you, you need to make a big transfer from the general fund into the capital projects fund. It's a bookkeeping entry. You don't need to have separate, savings or PTI accounts.
So I understand a little bit about, the limit of having the, no more than 35% of the overall budget. When we transfer that money from the general budget into a capital projects budget, can we then put it in a sinking fund where it just adds, or do we have to spend that? How does that work?
It is totally on software bookkeeping only. There's no physical transfer. You just move it into your capital projects fund, and it's just, restricted.
As long as it's in the capital projects fund, it could be of whatever balance. It could be 10 million.
Yeah.
And when we get the
You want to get these from. But you got to make sure you budget for the transfer. Because if you don't budget for the transfer, then you exceed the budget. And then you have a budget finding the state.
So we would have to have we would do a budget adjustment through the year to make that transfer, right? They would just have.
Yeah, and now's the time to really be looking at that really close. And make sure you include this year's general fund earnings in that transfer. The only time you're going to get in trouble with the general fund if it's too little, when it has. So you want to just really, especially if as low as you can, you're really over.
Not giving it.
So yeah, so feel free to be aggressive.
Is spending a lot of money.
Yeah,
So Rhonda too. I bet.
Any other questions with that? Okay. Progress assessment. It's not completed, presented to City Council, and my understanding is you've already done that this year, which is excellent. Self-evaluation. So that will be set and ready to go on that one this coming year. And so those are the four findings we had. One other thing, there's a lot of learning processes with the audit. Is make sure with federal funding, so we have to do what they call with the federal funding that you received, in there in the previous page, breaks out all that we have to have titles out to the dollar when you exceed $750,000 of federal, either grants or loans, any federal spending whatsoever. So, we've gone through this with Rhonda and stuff, to just make sure we have that kept track of those federal dollars and
So that would be the airport and the ARPA funds and everything else, the COVID funds that we received, all of that.
Yeah. So, yeah, any other questions, I guess?
Overall financial health and overall,
Excellent. Financial health is really good. And even though we had difficulties getting, I mean, because here we are in April. You guys are going through a lot of your transitions. I can remember September, somewhere around there, so it just slows down. The sooner you can get it to you, because you have that December 31st deadline, which you guys were past, and I'm sure you were getting lots of letters from the state. So, but I think things should go smoother this year
great. Well, thanks, Cameron. Thank you. Any questions from Cameron before we let him off the hook? I appreciate
you guys. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add, Rhonda?
It was definitely a little bit of a challenge for Cameron and I both, the majority of what was done last year was done before I ever came. So we were trying to piece things together, and it definitely was not without its challenges, but yeah, we hope this year we're gonna sail right through.
So go ahead, Cameron.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say audit number 5, finding, no more turnover. Yeah. Okay. All right. Really the last item before we get to the purchase orders and things, did we have purchase orders go down? I didn't see anything.
Yeah, they went back to
Everything gets signed, okay. Just a city cleanup day discussion. So we do have, I don't know if anything's been done as far as communicating that with the public. We need to make sure from the 23rd to the 30th, or the 29th, 23rd to the 29th.
For the K&K, that's gone up, yeah.
Yeah, it's been
So you've done that. Do we have any organized city cleanup or any areas in the city that maybe we can focus on and get things done?
I was hoping the interfaith, but we just haven't even had a chance to meet yet. So I don't know any, and
That reminds me, we were gonna get a letter together.
I reached out to Kent, I just haven't heard anything back from him with the contact information I have.
Okay.
But I do have a letter drafted as soon as I know where I should direct it.
Do you want to send that to me? Actually, it will actually be, so we'll send it out. Yeah, won't. So if you give me that letter, we can look it over, just send it to the whole council and just make sure that council, it's not something we have a motion to approve, but just make sure that there's, we can get feedback from the council on that. And then once that's done, we can go ahead and send that out. And I'm guessing that's probably what they're waiting for. But if, Don, I think are you on city?
yeah, I am, and that's, but I was hoping the interfaith.
Flower.
Yeah.
If you'll get a hold of Kent and just see if there's any projects they know of, and maybe we can throw something together. That's all. I just want to make sure that, if there is any need in our community or in our city, that we can coordinate those. In the meantime, if we can get that letter, then we'll get that sent out and get that council officially organized. So. All right, purchase orders. We already had our financial review. Any questions on purchase orders?
I had 2 minor ones. The Peak software, Mentas, that's the software for the police, right? The new software. Okay.
No, it's not you.
There was a budget item, 200,000, 230,000, says Peak
Oh, that was my
software.
home theater system.
You didn't invite me?
I shouldn't make comments.
It was on the page you initial, the second page.
Learned it.
And I was just curious more than anything, because it's on the one you initial, the second page in orange, you put an orange mark over it. And it's Peak Software.
Oh, Patriot Construction.
Oh, that's Patriot? I was looking at the wrong,
Mhm.
I couldn't read the line.
Yeah,
Darn my
it's
eyes.
Patriot Construction, and it's the construction of the.
Oh,
paved water.
that's fine.
Yeah, you had me down there for-
Yeah, well, I must have misread it, the line, when I looked at it. And sanitation, I know we renegotiated with them because of some issues. Are things a little better? I mean, just in terms. I know our relationship's always been good, but we had an issue with, like, we were taking a brunt of the loss and we were doing a lot of the paperwork for them. We were trying to renegotiate that a little bit. If we,
With K&K.
yeah, K&K, we evaluated, is that working better?
Yes, we have a great working relationship. Deb's been great to work with, and Taylor's been very instrumental in making sure that things are in their proper places now. So, yeah, we don't have nearly as many issues as there historically been with things.
I just was, because I know we had requested some minor changes because we were doing a lot of the, they were getting a lot.
Rate increases on some of the commercial cans.
Well, I think what Councilman Dusenbar is talking about is when we were looking at that, people were having to call us to get a different size can or get 2 cans or change their stuff, and then we were having to communicate that back to K&K. And so what we've asked is we push everyone to K&K, let them make the adjustments, and then get back with us.
That's not as smooth as you would like it to be. Historically, everyone in the city of Roosevelt is used to calling Roosevelt City. And it was one of those things we finally agreed with K&K. If they call K&K, they will take the information and get back with us. If they call us, we take the information and get with K&K. Rather than making people call here, call there.
Well, I know there was also a concern, and that was one of them, but there also was a concern, just the fact that if, let's say someone were to leave town suddenly and they have money on and they just didn't pay it, the city would take that, and K&K never had to do that. We were doing a lot of the paperwork for them. We send out the bill, we do a lot of that, and there was concern that way, and I know there was some discussion previously, I think it was before you came, and I'm not, I think K&K is great, I have no problems with them, my concern is that there was concern from some of the previous employees that we were doing a lot of the work, but the pay wasn't, the money we were keeping wasn't matching the work we were doing.
The risk is still all completely on the city.
Okay, so maybe that's something we need to.
But we did, like Rhonda was saying, we did adjust. So the city is actually keeping more of that money. We did adjust some of the rates, especially for the larger
We
cans.
do have some overhead coverage
Okay.
now
Yeah.
with some of the rate increases and what have you.
Well, I don't want to make it terrible on the, citizens either, because we want them to use it and stuff, so that's not an issue. I just know there was concern that the city was taking a brunt of that, and we were doing a lot of extra work that maybe the K&K we could somehow find it. We weren't keeping a lot of that, but it sounds like we're working on that or have done some adjustments with some of the costs. I just like to evaluate things. If we make a change or something, I like to know how it's going. If it's working, great. If it's not, maybe we need to reevaluate, right? That's all, it's like me and numbers.
We'll evaluate this in about 4 years. We have a 5-year contract with them.
And that's fine. So, but those are things we need to keep in mind going forward, and whatever, whoever's here on the council, they may not know that. It'd be nice to make sure that we're aware and say, here's the problems we've had, and this is what we'd like to see if we can somehow address, or we didn't really have a problem and everything worked great. And that's what I'm hoping it is, but
Yeah.
I just know that we have data, we have information. I hate having it without that making some assessment about, is it good, is it not good, do we need to adjust it? So that's what I was asking, because I know we just renewed, but I thought there were some changes made on that, and that's, I was just curious.
Excellent. Any other questions on the purchase orders?
I move we approve.
We have a motion, do we have seconds? second by Councilman White. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Ryan, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just a couple from Josh.
While you're coming up, go ahead, come on up. So this book, I'm looking at this, can we get these for the Planning and Zoning Commission also?
That has been taken care of, being got before planning and zoning.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, am I up?
Yes, sir.
Josh just wanted to let everyone know that we have, as a city, been working with the committees and building relationships with them and kind of valuing their expertise, their opinions and everything, and hopefully getting them more involved in the city. So we've been working on relationships with all of them. We appreciate their hard work.
This, committees like Parks and Rec and Economic Development, stuff like that.
There's so many of them, I can't spit them off all.
Yeah, we got a little
Ones,
committee
yeah.
happy, that's why we haven't had the golf committee yet. We're still trying to get these ones right over
Well, no, we've arrived when we have a committee on committees, right?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I think Sunshine needs some help on that one.
She needs help because I pushed a lot of students to her. Thanks, Sunshine.
You're wonderful.
The nature park, the land, Mayor mentioned earlier, the land transfer has been, that document with the hospital has been signed, so. Also, we're currently working with engineers too on funding packages as well, like CID, we're in the early stages of trying to get some of these projects put in so we can get some more funding. We just barely put in 2 to the Division of Drinking Water, for big bench area and transite line replacement, so hopefully we can get some funding from that.
Just to touch on what Ryan mentioned, to give you an idea of the projects, so we do have some funds. I know Josh wants to spend those very quickly. So Ron is super excited. But in all reality, so we do have, Kevin Richens has touched base with Gary, haven't been able to connect with him to see where we're at, but we have the gun range. And so we have several projects that we're planning on getting done this year, so just hold on, really, because we have baseball fields, we have the gun range, we have the innovation center, we have nature park, and then the page bench, water lines.
So notice they put the parking lots in at at least the asphalt, whatever's in at the library tonight.
Oh, yeah. And that's not our project, but it is a huge benefit.
I know, but it is a benefit, but it's cool because when they're done, we're getting our building back.
Yeah, so for the innovation, so all of those things are happening and they're gonna be happening very quickly. Hopefully, the baseball fields, it's June 7th is
June.
when we'll go to CID for that. So that'll be, hopefully by fall we'll be up and going. When's the funding cycle?
It would be in October is when they reward.
Yeah, so maybe next spring, actually. So the next 2 years. But I just want to gear the council up because we've had these projects on the back burner. These are things that we've been working on for.
Yeah. It takes time. I mean, this tank up here, I mean, we've been wanting that for 10 years, so finally we got funding.
So Dustin, if you do a project and you have a barbecue when it's done,
Let's have another.
I just wonder and didn't get an invite to this.
Are we actually looking sign?
Where is this tank? What tank is this?
It's up by Hayden,
So
by the old other tank.
yeah, at the top of our system, Ryan was really instrumental. We had a 350,000 gallon tank that fit our entire system, basically.
Is this a 2 million?
2 million. So we've upgraded that. We needed to do it. Ryan was really good to get that and spearhead that.
When does it go into service?
So tonight, as we speak, we're doing the leak test on it. So on that big tank, we've got 2 million gallons in there. It cannot drop 1/8 of an inch in 24 hours. So by this time tomorrow night, we'll know if it's or not.
That's not much water.
No, it's not, but it's 1,000 gallons.
That's still not a lot for that size of
So
tank.
there is a few, but I guess it's natural. This has all been a learning thing for me too
You
as
need
well.
some bubble gum?
Yeah. They call it side bags if you want to get technical. They do shoot some, they call it side bags anyway, they inject it in the cracks and it kind of just forms like an ice looking, it almost looks like an icicle, but anyway, it kind of seals it up and stops the leak, so. There wasn't a whole lot, so I'm pretty confident. So to answer your question, hopefully in 3 to 4 weeks we'll be drinking.
Does it get flushed at all before, or is it just treated?
Yeah, it'll get flushed. Whether or not they like it or not, it's getting flushed. They called it, they filled up 2 or 3 feet in it and put a bunch of chlorine in there and they let it sweat for a while. And then they really put a lot of chlorine, filled it all the way up, and that's what's sitting in there right now. It's just so I don't want a chlorine bomb heading to town, so I'm gonna flush it out in bushes.
I sure appreciate Patriot, they've done a great job.
Yeah, they have. We've only had one change order, and that was upon our request, so
That's really good.
it is real good. Yep.
The acoustics in there were pretty cool. They all had a concert before they filled it with water.
Like I'm
Pretty
saying,
cool.
Dustin, can you get with Ryan and show them how to do these?
Also, I have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what an iPhone will do for you. Rhonda is lying. We actually, a lot of the employees, I tried to get, some just couldn't work it out, but you had to crawl through a 24-inch pipe to get in there. But the sound is just awesome. And not to get your brains going more, but we do have a tank on our hill that's 1 million. It's vacant, so if you're into that kind of thing, it's a possibility.
Are you familiar with the tank in Roosevelt?
So we'll get the Arts Parks and Rec Committee on that.
You heard of the studio in Rangeley?
Yeah.
That's the tank, yeah.
We did a few recordings in this
They do
one.
recording studio, it's
Uh-huh.
Really?
pretty famous.
Yeah, they've actually recorded whole albums.
Let's do this.
The acoustics
We
were
could rent it
amazing.
out, make a lot of money. Calling all these groups.
We have a 1 million gallon tank.
On our hill, yeah, it's abandoned. It's capped off right now. You can't get inside it. We have problems with teenagers being teenagers and sneaking in there and doing beautiful girls.
What was that previous name?
It was one of our days at town, yeah. We had 2 of them up there at one time. One steel,
We
one.
still have a 1 million, well, we have a 1 million at Charmel and we have a 1 million at, or is Charmel bigger?
It's 2.
2 million, and then a 1 million down by North Cove Road,
That would be Page Bench, yeah.
or big, and then a 1 million that's not ours, but the storage over that are big 3.
That would be 2.
Oh, another 2 million. No wonder they were having a fit when we presented this 2 million, saying we had too much storage already.
Yeah, we're good on storage now. But what I like is just at the top of the system and if the power goes out or anything like crazy like that, we're a lot more
I
comfortable.
know the water went out at the college last night.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you're back in now. So
We're good.
leaks happen.
Gotta tell them to pay their bill, they're not.
Yeah,
Tell them to
I'll get on.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I had was the streets. Kirby, is it in May that they'll be starting on the streets?
Yes, we started in the May.
So
Trying to
getting phone calls with stuff coming up.
We're gonna try to have it completed by July.
Is that the State Street project?
It's city streets.
State Street's still out to bid.
We're doing crack fill and.
Water, mill and fill, road milling them up.
Oh.
That's why we're doing the utilities also, the water line secondary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do we use all of the mill tailing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, speaking of that,
Mhm.
maybe the next day or two, we can go to the industrial park. So that's Roosevelt city limits. There's some dirt roads in there that I've had a couple of the landowners or business owners in that area not complain, but say it would be nice to have maybe even some road mill in there. And so maybe we go out there and take a look at some of those roads and see it. As we're road milling all of these other roads, maybe we can put some over there in that industrial park.
That's why I got all these off of Highway 40. It's from the project, you know, the gas company and stuff. They were nice enough to bring them here because it was a close haul for them and I could use it. And we use them in alleys, we use them in a lot of multiple areas, so
Yeah.
it's just a big plus to have it.
Yeah. If we could get maybe and go look at a couple of those. I think there's only one or two that are pretty bad. And do we do the maintenance on those?
You know, we don't, we haven't in the past, and the problem will be there if we put rotor milling down. And it's like we accepted to maintain that and it'll be our responsibility from now on. So,
It's something to consider though.
Yeah.
Just because they generate a lot of revenue in our county.
Yeah.
City.
and this has been a discussion for a few years now, but
Yeah.
with your direction, I'm not saying I'm against it at all.
Well, let's go look first, and then if we need to present something else, we can do that. But let's go look first and just
Yeah.
talk about what it means.
Sounds good.
So,
Last thing, does everybody know where they're going tomorrow? Hotel wise? Did you get that email?
Yeah.
who's all going?
Me, Rowdy, and Dustin will find out I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took care of my own.
You know where you're going to? Okay, cool. All right, that's all I had. Just want to say thank you to the employees too. I know Josh feels the same way. Everyone, I mean, we've had a rough week last week with delinquents and leaks and everything going on within the city, and everybody hands on deck was awesome. So just want to say thank you.
Secondary water's turned on too.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. Do we have any reports from any of the council? From any community reports or updates? All right, I don't see any. Any items for future discussion? We haven't already mentioned. Yeah, Al.
This is kind of out of sequence, but on 8 South, please send the 8 South, you have to have a grass
Oh, cool.
fire.
Get rid of some of the weeds.
Yeah, well, it's fortunate we didn't have any wind.
Yeah,
If there had been a wind from the
I'm
west,
just joking. That's not
the apartment should have been in jeopardy. And what would it take to have someone maybe shred that or get the weeds down?
That's a good question, and I talked with Chief Watkins a little bit, because that's an ordinance, kind of an ordinance issue. The landowners should be taking care of the properties and things like that. We currently don't have anybody that's enforcing a lot of those, just because we're understaffed and we're looking at maybe taking care of that, but you're right, there's some things that we could do with that. And, maybe that's something we look at as council, Councilman Lusenbark and Clower, if you wanted to look into that a little bit.
I actually visited with Chief Watkins as well, so.
Yeah.
One thing about that, I've noticed, the bathrooms we've given out citations to landowners, or even just, actually, I don't know if I've heard of any citations, but warnings. There's a property right next to mine that's city owned, and there's a couple others in the city. I think it's really important, giving citations out to make sure that we're taking care of our own properties too. Just, I know it's not your responsibility, but I think it's for everyone to know.
I think it's Dave's responsibility to take care
I'm
of this.
happy, yeah.
Place off this place.
I got goats. I'll tie one up right there.
Is there someone that checks that though for the city for our property to make sure?
I don't know, is there Kirby, somebody that goes around and checks our property, make sure we're,
You know, we have in the past, but we've also had a compliance officer, as you guys know, like you say, we're a little understaffed, but it was brought up in our department head meeting this morning. She mentioned it.
so if we go that route, I guess what I'm saying is that means hiring another person. And one of the, since we are on the item for future discussion, one of the things we talked about is Chief was mentioning for animal control. That's been a problem for the officers to have to take care of that as well. And we let go of the animal control person, what, 2.5 years ago or something, right? When was that?
Yeah.
But in that discussion, that's when I mentioned, that might be a good idea to combine the animal control with the ordinance and enforcement. So that person has a little more responsibility, more to do versus just animal control, then they can also go around and monitor those things, issue at least the warnings, and if nothing happens, then we can get a citation or something like that.
We do try to weed spray.
Yeah, that's good. I don't mind honestly putting my goats over there, but it's, they need to feed anyways.
Cool. Anything else? Anything else? We're going to entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Councilman White and second by Councilman Baird, all in favor?
Aye.